Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Two Bald Nerds. As Mike told you guys, we are going to talk about artificial intelligence, or also better known as AI. Mike, I've seen you kind of playing around with some AI stuff recently. I think that you are probably getting a little out of control with your AI stuff, are you not?
No, I'm having fun with it. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's you know, I can't even find anybody to come up with a proper definition for AI at this point. Or the few definitions I'm running into are so fuzzy that they don't really say anything. So, um, for me, AI is just a piece of software that you give enough flexibility to be able to go out on the internet and try to answer questions in a more complicated way. And from there on in, it's just the how it's done. So yeah, I've been definitely playing with some AI. Anybody who's following me or connected to me on LinkedIn would see some of the stuff we've been doing, with more coming. But AI is fabulous stuff, and I don't share the Elon Musk great fear. But like with any tool, it has to be respected, and as we develop all of this, I think we'll do a very good job with it. Mainly because everybody's paranoid about AI, because everybody thinks we've got another Skynet coming.
Well, at the same time that everybody's paranoid about it, everybody's using it for everything.
Sure, but if there's AI and then there's AI, right? I mean, we're looking at trying to think of somebody who's actually doing AI fairly well. LinkedIn actually doesn't do a bad job incorporating AI. A lot of times they're using it as kind of a cleanup sort of thing. Uh,
Mhm.
here, can we make that better for you than you? And yes, I actually do that too, folks. I will make a post in LinkedIn and I'll let the AI clean it up. And honestly, 95 times out of 100, it does do a much better job. But yeah, it's still, it's just a rule set. That's all it is.
So tell me about the videos that you showed on LinkedIn that were AI either generated or AI modified. I don't know exactly what
Well,
process you went through.
that I knew you were going to do this to me. Hang on a
Yeah.
minute.
Didn't you like supply it images
I
and
did.
so
I
forth?
it's I started off with yeah, guys, you definitely ought to look me up on. You happen to catch me at one computer that I can't get into my. I got in. I got in. All right, hang on, folks. It's worth every moment. Hanging on the edge of your
Mike,
seat.
I will say it did look like a younger and better looking you.
Well, sadly, a lot of these videos here. I've got one here.
We've actually been using a little bit of AI generated audio for some of our videos here, like our training videos. It's actually been really helpful.
So can you see that right there?
Yeah.
That's a still image. The AI did
Wow.
all that on its own.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So but yeah, the gang usually, as always, they love to get a hold of those fun things and tease me about it.
Right, right.
Uh, I've done other work with sort more of the Chat GPT type of stuff. Um,
Hmm.
I got to tell you, AI does not blow my doors off. Anything I see in AI looks like a script of some kind, and that's okay. I mean, that's what it should do, is be a script. Even those animations, it keeps making the same kind of animation no matter what you give it, with the criteria I did on that particular one. That was Runway AI, for the record. They have a fun little, their free version uh, is pretty cool. I'm buying the big version, but the free version will get you started. But AI, and I think that's the important thing to keep in mind when we talk about AI. I think we need to always think of AI as a very complex, semi-automated, cloud-based script that you didn't write.
Right.
You said, please do this for me, make this animation, do the entire Principia Mathematica, but do it in Pig Latin, whatever wacky thing you want to do. It's
Right.
still a script. And if you look at it more granularly than just looking at a big picture that's suddenly magically moving, you begin to realize that it's not even complicated. It's actually it's broad. It's
Yeah.
very broad in terms of the amount of data it has access to, but in terms of the depth of the complexity, it's actually a little dull.
Yeah, I've seen so many different ways that it's being used now. I actually attended a webinar the other day from one of our security vendors, and they have been working very diligently for quite a while actually to integrate the AI into their security tool. And I think what they're doing is actually pretty awesome. And what it does highlight specifically, thinking about cybersecurity and the analyst field, it actually makes understanding prompt engineering very important. And for those of you that don't know what prompt engineering is, it's really where I learn how to prompt the AI to give me what I want. And you can tweak and modify that, and you can adjust what you're presenting it with as well as what you're asking it for. And you can get different information. Yeah, I do agree with you with what you said earlier, though, about the almost robotic kind of nature of it, because it's coming from almost like a scripted amount of data and so forth, and it does kind of follow almost that
Well, I mean, it
robotic
is
kind of
scripted,
fold.
right? It is scripted.
Yeah,
We got
yeah,
that part. Now that
yeah,
scripted doesn't mean unsophisticated, though, of course.
yeah, agree.
It gives us, it feels scripty. I don't know how to describe. There's a wonderful movie that came out like 15 years ago. It was called Existence with a Z.
Hmm.
And Jude Law was in it. Anyway, if you ever get a chance, you should watch it, because you can tell it's basically people living in a video game, okay? But the
Mm.
non-player characters versus the real characters just had a sheen to them, or something that was like, that's obviously an NPC. And I think that AI, at least at this point in the game, lacks the sophistication to be able to quickly fool human beings. I think there's going to be some kind of, here's a fascinating thought, Richard. How about some kind of Turing test for AI that would have to be uniquely tweaked?
Mm.
See, the thing about AI, though, is that you don't necessarily want it to act like a human being, right? You want it to deal with a wildly complicated, non-linear scripting.
Yeah,
So
you
there
want it
wouldn't
to
be a
make
Turing
things
test.
you want it to make things easier. And I think for a lot of uses that I've seen so far, it's being used in that way. It's being used as a tool to improve skill sets, to make, in other words, take an individual who doesn't have a certain skill set and give them the capabilities of doing that. Perfect example. The other day, I actually had ChatGPT write me a Python script that I could use to utilize an API for an open source intelligence tool, take a list of IP addresses or domains from a CSV file, and go and check the reputation and give me that report back. I mean, that's for an analyst, maybe that's a lower level analyst that doesn't have years and years and years of experience or programming background. That gives them a tremendous amount of additional capabilities. Not only that, but even analyzing, different, whether it's script from a malware or command lines, whatever the case may be, they can use those AI tools if they can prompt them the right way, and they
Yeah,
know what they're asking for.
I was going to say,
Then
Richard, I've tried writing code using AI in much the same way you've described, with
yeah,
perhaps less luck than most. Uh,
yeah.
Subtleties and nuances of the code, or just little things like that didn't work
Well,
out.
I
But
have a friend of
those
mine.
things can be fixed.
I have a friend of mine that's a programmer. He's been writing code as long as I've known him, and I've known him since I was 15 years old. And he says that the code that is generally created by the AI platforms are usually a bit clunky, but you can actually get them to work pretty well, but they can be a bit clunky. And he's able to look at the code in a lot of cases and tell that it's AI generated. So I do think that there's still some differentiation there, and those people that are more
It's
familiar
got
with
that
things like that.
sheen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you were talking about, they got that sheen. There's things there that nobody put that in there. No normal coder put that in there, because coders
Here,
don't do that.
you ready for the wacky one, Richard?
Yeah.
There's already preliminary discussion. This is all just think tank stuff at this point. that basically all AI generated imagery of any form will be required by law to have an associated NFT.
I can understand why that would be beneficial. I've seen some of the videos that are being generated by AI, and they're people that don't exist and you watch them and you would have no idea that they were not a real video. And that's a little bit interesting and scary and thought provoking for sure.
Well,
But I tend to focus most of my energy on AI and how it affects our environment. And I know a lot of people ask the question of, well, will AI replace analysts? I got to tell you, I really don't think it will. Will it take a lot of low level activities away? Sure, absolutely. It takes away a lot of simple stuff that's remedial. But do I think that it's an amazing tool for blue team defensive analysts all day, every day? I think it really, really provides a great opportunity and a great tool to make even the most inexperienced analyst better than they are already, which is pretty cool.
sure, I'm all positive on the positive tool parts, but I tend to want to concentrate on the potential negatives.
Of course,
One of the things about AI, and that, like where your friend was saying they can look at code and sit there and say it's AI. And it's because right now I think AI still suffers from the Happy Valley syndrome. Are you familiar with this? It's used in graphics a lot, where so here I'm going to make you a chart. All right. So the vertical axis is how realistic it is, and this one is over time. So what happens is, as graphics become more realistic, way down here they're not realistic, nobody cares. But as they get more and more realistic, so I'm sorry, this is realism, this is acceptance. There we go, I got it right. Humans accepting the graphic. We all accept Mickey Mouse happily, right? So down here's the Mickey Mouses. And as they get better, suddenly they get too close. And suddenly it all goes like this. We stop accepting the characters. And then as they become hyper realistic, we re-accept them again. And AI can't get past that. I mean, it takes about 30 seconds of experience on YouTube to be able to instantly recognize which ones are AI generated, which ones aren't. Your friend can recognize AI generated code versus that which isn't, which I think is a blessing at this point.
Yeah.
I think to have it a little bit obvious where AI is popping early on, and I don't care where it's used, or even within analysis, it doesn't matter in IT security. Having that ability to Happy Valley your AI for a while is going to be very important. We need to be able to go, oh, Richard, come on, dude, look at it. Okay, it's AI. Don't worry about that. Well, because it's going to make us become very attuned to it. People are becoming attuned to AI at a wildly fast rate. We don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
The LinkedIn is one example. YouTube would be another example. Facebook. I mean, what's still out there? Obvious uses of AI. But as we get used to it, we do better. Richard, back in the 17th century, when they first came up with flintlock rifles, they would give these rifles to regular farm boys and stuff, and the farm boys would just like rip them apart because they had no idea of how to work with intricacy. You see where I'm coming from?
Yep.
And the same thing's going to be happening with AI, as we become used to it, this early AI will break it apart as we're trying to fumble and understand it. But I think understanding AI is going to become as important as typing. It's just going to become a nuance. And if it does, if we can go with that, I think people are going to really like AI. The old I for one, welcome our new robot overlords, but I don't really see it that way. To me, it's just one more screwdriver to put in my toolbox. It's just a very, very powerful one. So the bottom line is, if you're an analyst, look, guys, I can go back to 1986 and everybody telling me the PS2 is going to replace all technicians. We'll never need another technician. The basic network is going to replace paperless office. I have been replaced and made redundant something like 17 times in the last 40 some odd years. New technologies are always welcomed by those who are ready to embrace it, and it's always feared by the Luddites.
Of course.
So, we are in a business that requires you staying on top of things. Play with that. Play with a little Chat GPT. I like the graphical stuff, but that honestly, that's probably the last place you should be playing with if you actually want to get some work done with AI, and see how those tools can be used. If you like Two Bold Nerds, check out our entire playlist right here. It's a lot of fun. We'll see you there.